Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Okimale, live for you in Abuja. I've seen the comments suggesting I could have been shot for doing my job on Politics Today, right here on Channels Television. I sincerely want to thank civil society organizations, our viewers, for your love and your comments and your solidarity, and both local and international organizations for your swift interventions and for lending your voices. Your support is deeply appreciated and reinforces our collective commitment to truth and accountability. The fact remains that our democracy is in danger if we allow one-way traffic in balloting. This is not a warning to the opposition or to the ruling party, but to all Nigerians who believe in the development of our nation. I acknowledge that Channels Television has taken steps to address this matter, and I note the ongoing reassurance from the Department of State Services, the DSS, regarding safety. I also received a call from the Honorable Minister who clarified that the intention was not as conveyed. While that is noted, it is important to emphasize that violent rhetoric or suggestive threats are never appropriate responses to dissent in a democratic society. At a time like this, particularly during an election season, clear and consistent assurances of safety are critical. We must not create an environment where such statements can be exploited by those with harmful intentions. Let me be clear, I'm not afraid, and I will never and not be intimidated. Journalism, grounded in ethics and global best practices, remains a duty to the public, not a concession to power. We may disagree, and as humans, we may err, but dissent must never descend into hostility or harm. I will continue to do what I love, asking the necessary questions, holding power to account, and working in the interest of Nigeria and its progress. If that commitment comes at a cost, so be it. Truth must endure. Thank you, everyone, for your love. Appreciate it. So, let's begin our conversation. We're at a point in our democratic journey where there is intense scrutiny as allegations of interference, institutional bias, and democratic backsliding take center stage. The African Democratic Congress has accused the ruling All Progressives Congress of attempting to destabilize its leadership structure, claims that the APC firmly denies at the heart of the controversy is the role of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, whose decisions on party recognition and internal disputes have sparked legal questions and political backlash and criticism. Now one of a creeping slide toward one-party state, while the ruling party insists Nigeria's democracy remains vibrant and competitive. With the 2027 general elections already casting a long shadow, the stakes could not be higher for political parties, institutions, and the future of democratic contest in Nigeria. And to discuss this, everyone, I'm being joined by Mr. Felix Morka, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Mr. Morka is live for us from our Lagos studio. It's a pleasure having you join us tonight, and happy Easter to you, Mr. Morka.
Easter to you, my dear friend. Good to see you.
Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Thank you so much indeed. Let's begin the conversation, Mr. Morka. Your party has been accused, and there are allegations that your party is drifting our nation into a one-party state, and that the only thing that your party wants, I'm very sure that you saw the press conference addressed by the ADC, and they are inferring that your party wants to be the only party on the ballot, that you do not want competition. Why is your party afraid if the allegations by the ADC is correct?
Thank you so much, Seun. Now, first of all, ordinarily, that question actually should go to the ADC to ask them to furnish Nigerians with, material, with evidence of APC's complicity in their predicament. When you make an allegation, you prove it. We don't have that duty to convince anyone that we're not doing anything. But, we respond because we are a democratic party and we are a progressive party and we are Nigerians. So we feel like, whatever, however senseless the allegations may be, we say something for the benefit of Nigerians who are listening and who are watching, not because we have a duty to do so. The political predicament that the ADC has found itself is self-inflicted. We have nothing to do with it. Now, this latest round of confusion within that party resulted from a decision of the Court of Appeal in an appeal filed by the ADC itself. Now, what exactly is the matter? ADC has apparently a long-standing member of its party who was, in fact, the deputy national chairman of that party. Now, fast forward, when David Mark, Atiku Abubakar, and all of them parachuted into that party to take it over, they did so. And apparently, one of the members of that party felt aggrieved by the way and manner he was sidelined. Because according to him, in line with their constitution, he actually was the successor to the office once the then national chairman quit his position. Now, the ADC claimed he resigned his position, but he says he didn't resign. Now, that's not for me to even mess with. That is a matter that is already before the court, and the court will adjudicate on that issue. But the question that Nigeria should ask the ADC is, how did they get here? How did Nafiu Balagombe get to the court? How did this matter even get to the courtroom at the Federal High Court? It got to the courtroom because the ADC and its leaders failed miserably to engage effectively with that individual, apparently. Now, the matter went to court. The court, in dealing with an application for an injunction, for an interim injunction, directed or ordered the ADC to show cause why that application for injunction should not be granted. Now, the ADC, rather than show cause, and actually, by the way, that court was, in fact, being very gracious in affording the ADC a hearing, an invitation to respond, to show cause why the interim application, which could have been granted without their participation, but they were put on notice, rather than the ADC to go to that court as of September the 2nd, when that case was filed, ADC decided to rush to the appeal court to appeal nothing, really. There was nothing to appeal. There was no substantive order of court to appeal. However, ADC went to the Court of Appeal to appeal what was not, in fact, appealable. And in doing so, that matter was an interlocutory situation. Any lawyer, you don't have to be experienced as a lawyer to know that when appeals on an interlocutory matter is done with leave of court. You don't just appeal. It's not an appeal as of right, in the same manner that a final judgment of court is available to you as of right. But the ADC rushed to the Court of Appeal without even applying for the leave of court. Now, that is a blunder that is unforgivable. That's completely hard to understand. Even a rookie lawyer will not make that mistake. But here are these eminent citizens, highly experienced, vice president, governors, ministers. They've been everything. David Mark, former general and former senator and all of that. All of them put together could not instruct themselves to do the right thing, which is to apply for leave. They didn't do that. So the Court of Appeal dismissed that appeal as it should. And then, the next thing is, of course, by the way, the Court of Appeal also granted them a facility. Say, look, go back to court with an order of accelerated hearing to the Federal High Court to expedite action, knowing fully well that the election season was around the corner. The ADC, rather than go to the legal boardroom to figure out how to order its affairs and respond to this legal exigency, decided to rather go to the media to issue press conferences and press releases and all of that, to castigate the APC that we are responsible for their predicament. Now, Shehu, look, I don't get it. And nobody has explained it to me, how the APC gets involved in a matter that came from their failure to engage their own member and their failure to do due diligence with their litigation to contain this matter, filed in September. Now, 6 months later, a verdict was given in March, on March 12th. So 6 months on that application that was filed by originating summons could have been resolved. The substantive issues could have been settled much earlier, within 2 months at the most, could have been settled. They didn't do that. They went to court of appeal. They chose to waste that time. Shehu, let me say this. At this point, I'm beginning to think, quite frankly, based on the type of really, inexcusable blunders that the ADC has committed, I'm beginning to think that this is all orchestrated. That the ADC is self-sabotaging. They are sabotaging themselves because they know that there is no way in the world, they don't even have anything that resembles anything that is capable of challenging or defeating the APC. They know that. And so they are resorting now to sabotaging themselves so that they can create this state of anomy, create this, appearance of crisis. Because just yesterday or 2 days ago, I understand that they have appointed representatives to, represent the party, in capitals around the world, to literally go lobby and instigate the international community to believe erroneously that the APC is in fact disturbing the political opposition and stopping them from competing, so that whatever resultant crisis that comes can then create a situation where maybe the APC-led government is somehow removed, so they can just come and saunter in and take power. Because look at all of the individuals who are involved here. From Atiku Abubakar to Peter Obi to El-Rufai to all of them. These are people who clearly failed to manage the affairs of the parties from where they came. And they've been in so many parties. And one thing that is consistent with all of those parties is their failure to handle their business in those parties, to stay, to remain, and solve the problems of their parties. No, rather, they use the revolving door to move to the next party, create more chaos, and then blame the ruling party, and then leave, go to the next party, create more chaos, and blame the ruling party. So, you see, I think Nigerians are smarter than this. Yes, they are smarter than this. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me jump in quickly. Now, is it coincidence? Labour Party terribly injured. People's Democratic Party decimated, terribly injured. ADC now, when this crisis happened, all the opposition figures were going into that party and now is experiencing this kind of crisis. And this is what the ADC is inferring. They're inferring the indirect role of the APC in their crisis. And they're saying that there is a fear and paranoia in the APC, and they're using subterfuge. You are using subterfuge, and you're using fifth columnists. You are using people to instigate crisis in their party. What exactly would you say the APC is afraid of? Are you worried that you can't get into a competition in the next election, and that is why you are doing this? Because if the allegations are right, you need to be answering the Nigerian people about the reasons behind you destroying the other political party as they are alleging.
So we're doing no such thing. We have no reason to do that. So you are a veteran journalist, and no one monitors election better than you do. We had the by-elections recently in the country. The ADC was a no-show. They didn't even perform dismally because they didn't perform at all. We've had several constituency elections since 2023 election. The ADC, again, did not register any impact whatsoever. Now, why would we be afraid when we have consistently won elections since 2023? All of the elections that have been conducted in this country, at whatever level, or even in the FCT, we won, brilliantly. What exactly do we have to fear? Fear a party that is a non-starter, a party that is actually almost as good as non-existent? We have nothing to fear about the ADC. You see, they are just filled with this self-appointed importance. Because after all, Atiku Abubakar was former vice president, Rotimi Amechi was a former governor, former minister. Arebe Shola was former governor. You know, they've been everything there is to be. But all of them put together, individually, they look like they are superstars. But when they come together, they are twinkle, twinkle little stars. They are making no impact whatsoever. And so there's nothing for us to fear. And by the way, Shehu, let me say that, you know, ADC makes these allegations about the APC, you know, interfering. What exactly in a democracy, Shehu, you tell me, and maybe any Nigerian, you know, can reach out to me and explain to me exactly what APC is required to do in a democracy. Just yesterday, I was joking with our national secretary, and I said to him, maybe, you know, I'm going to, at the next meeting of our party, I'm going to probably move for the APC to set up a department within the APC for the effective management of opposition political parties. Because so far, that's all we have not done, is to, you know, set up a system where we can then go into these parties and help them to organize themselves and manage them. Now, if that is the accusation that we have not done, then maybe we are guilty of that. We haven't done that. Maybe we should. But that's not our responsibility to do so. It is the duty of these parties. Now, if the ADC says that their members are so gullible and so malleable and so manipulable and so easily, you know, hoodwinked and, you know, captured, if that's what they are saying, that the APC is doing that, then they need to disband. ADC needs to disband today. Because so they don't have anything to stand now on, is quite frankly.
So let me play. I'll play this tape, but I'm hoping that the producer will get this out quickly. Where the president has inferred that the failure of the opposition party will be his joy. And politically speaking, that may be right. Because if you want to win in a competition, you don't want your opposition to do as much as you do. But the fear that a lot of people are having is that we've not seen this nature of crisis in opposition political parties since the Fourth Republic began. And there are fears that if there is an erosion of opposition voices, or voices of dissent in our democracy, we are doomed. And that's the fear, that we cannot have the four pillars that hold a democracy, and we have only one pillar thriving, the others are simply not effective. The opposition, the civil society, the media, all of them being eroded and being put in some kind of fear and trepidation because the ruling party is overwhelming. Those are the kind of narrative that is being created, and it's left to you as a ruling party to be able to allay those fears. And perhaps every indices that show to that effect, maybe your party will start evidently telling Nigerians that we are not involved. Because the opposition is now drawing inferences and saying there are members of your party or those that are working for your party that are doing this danger and are doing this harm to the opposition.
You know, look, you see, first of all, we're doing no such thing. We're not doing anything to undermine anybody. We are minding our business. We are organizing every day, you know, convening meetings and mobilizing our people and giving them a reason to, you know, trust our party and to work with our party. Nobody has tied the hands of anybody in ADC or in the PDP or in the Labour Party. From even going into the APC to do what they're accusing the APC of doing to them. Nobody. I mean, assuming that, I mean, nobody is doing such a thing, but why does it lie in their mouth to suggest the things they suggested? I mean, like I said, why would we do that when we are winning? They are not winning. They are the ones who have the reason to, in fact, create this false narrative about the APC. Now, Shehu, what we're witnessing today is not new. Now, let me remind Nigerians that in 2019, in Zamfara State, APC was completely prohibited by INEC from fielding candidates in all the positions in that state because of, you know, APC's internal crisis at the time between, you know, the then governor and other leaders, you know, who couldn't agree and had these parallel processes. The INEC came down hard on the APC, and we couldn't and we didn't file, you know, nominations or candidates for those positions throughout the entire process of that state. Same thing happened in Rivers State. We also didn't field candidates in Rivers. Now, Shehu, let me remind Nigerians that at this time in 2019, the APC was the ruling party. But we did nothing to use the power of the federal government to interfere or intervene to compel INEC to not take that decision. We complied fully with that decision, and we didn't field candidates in those two states. We didn't. We must remember that. Now, let me refer to a more recent example. In Ondo State, during our congresses, some members of our party who felt aggrieved by one or two things went to court and got an injunction. That injunction, that order of injunction, was not served on the party until after the Congress was, in fact, literally concluded in Ondo State. But when we received the order, we studied it and decided to abide by that order. We immediately dispatched a high-powered delegation to Ondo State to mediate amongst the aggrieved parties, bring them together, and then settle the issue, and then notified INEC and went ahead to conduct a fresh Congress in Ondo State, which turned out very well and was accepted by all the parties involved. Now, if we as the ruling party are obsessed with complying with the rule of law, following due process, why should ADC be exempt from complying with due process? Why should they be awarded? Because right now, I'm sitting here speaking to you, I feel like every speaker or commentator who is saying what you're asking me is literally saying, APC, listen, don't bother trying to win the next election. Just go back, sit on your hands, do nothing, so the ADC can win, and that's when democracy thrives. In the cases I referred to, in Zamfara and Rivers State, the PDP was the beneficiary at that time, and the PDP held the Supreme Court and all the court decisions that stripped the APC of the power to present candidates as the triumph of the rule of law. Why is the ADC screaming now? Why are they saying that, accusing the APC that we're the ones responsible? Why are they not screaming triumph of the rule of law? We are not even gloating over what is going on. We are simply just minding our business. But back then, the PDP, I can, if I do just a quick snap research, I can show you headlines where they hailed the rule of law. So it was good for them because the APC lost, even when we're the ruling party. But now the ADC is having a self-created problem and predicament, and the APC must just now disband because the ADC must have its way. Let me say this. In a democracy, there is no obligation imposed on a ruling party anywhere in the world to babysit the political opposition. We don't have that obligation. Right now, the ADC is screaming and whining like they need a babysitter. That babysitter will not be the APC. They can go seek a babysitter elsewhere. We won't do that. We have no duty to do that in our democracy. And we can't be blackmailed by this emotional, nonsense that they're putting out, suggesting that we're the ones, doing the problem. We didn't register Bala, Gombe as a member of ADC. We didn't. We didn't file the case for Bala Gombe. We are not the, Federal High Court that asked them to show cause. We are not the Court of Appeal that gave a judgment. And right now, they are busy losing time again. The Court of Appeal asked that the Federal High Court accelerates hearing on that substantive matter so that hopefully they can catch up with the calendar announced by INEC. Now, instead of doing that, they're busy doing press conferences and going to Washington and going to Germany and London to field representatives. Now, by the time the entire time is up, again, they will call President Tinubu that he is responsible and that the APC is responsible for their inability to participate in the next election. I hope that they get their hands together.
The assurance, Mr. Morka, tonight, the assurance a lot of Nigerians will want to get, because like the popular saying in Yoruba language, that the witch cried today and the child dies tomorrow, is the fact that whatever your party is doing, there are those who are working behind, and whether or not there will be free and fair election is also the fear, and whether there will be an even balanced competition at the polls in 2027. And these are some of the fears that are being envisaged by the ADC. What assurances can your party give? Because it looks like there's an overwhelming sweeping within the political space that your party has done, and your towering figure within the political space seems to be dwarfing and not allowing, suffocating other political parties. Is there any assurances? Is the president worried about that tendency and the narrative of a one-party state? Are you able to do anything about it? It's not a good thing at all to have a narrative hovering over our head that we are running a one-party state.
So we are not running a one-party state. What is a one-party state? A one-party state is a legal construct. It's not by wishful thinking. You don't enact a one-party state by just because somebody accuses the government of, trying to enact a one-party state. To enact a one-party state in Nigeria requires very drastic, far-reaching constitutional reforms that will take years if it can ever be accomplished. So let's not joke with that. Second of all, the ADC is not the only political party in Nigeria. The PDP is still a political party. The Labour Party is still a political party. And there are about 16 or 17 or 18 other parties that are still registered in this country that I bet will field presidential candidates in the next election. Now, just today, I was reading a report by Punch suggesting that some members of the opposition, the ADC and maybe some other parties are considering boycotting the next election. Now, I wish them luck. You see, Shehu, I said earlier, and I will repeat, that, when you ask me to assure Nigerians, there's no assurance to give. Because the only way to assure Nigerians by your question is to say to you that the APC will somehow roll back its preparation and roll back its efforts and maybe not even field a candidate or not. Shehu, I'm sorry. I can't give you that assurance that the APC will not participate. We will participate as vigorously as we are required to participate in our democracy. Our constitution gives us the liberty to participate, just like it gives ADC and the PDP and Labour Party and anybody else the opportunity to participate. And you see, these questions should be turned over to the ADC and to the Labour Party and to the PDP to say to them, what exactly are you doing, are you willing to do to bring yourselves into viable capacity to compete in the next general election? That should be the valid question. It's not about APC. Because, so far in this show, you have not told me, apart from the so-called narrative and false narratives, you have not confronted me with any specific, question or allegation, or evidence of the APC's meddlesomeness in these parties. It's all speculative. And speculation is not fact. Fact is fact. Speculation is speculation. Speculation lies in the realm of emotion. Right now, the ADC are being emotionally manipulative. They're being very infantile. And they need to stop and focus on solving the problem. Time is running. We're here discussing this, but the Court of Appeal handed down a decision. INEC, complied with that decision. They are screaming. Now, if I was a member of the ADC, which I'm not ever, intending to be, I would say to them at the leadership, listen, enough of this. Take some responsibility. You are all citizens who have governed this country at the highest levels and performed, quite frankly, very dismally. This underserved Nigeria. The miserable failed to serve this country when they held power. So right now, the only thing they have going is their desperation for power, which is why, as I said earlier, I'm beginning to suspect that this, whatever is going on in the ADC right now, is actually self-sabotage designed to create this state of, crisis in the country, hoping that if anything happens, they can be beneficiary of that thing. But Nigerians are smarter. Yeah. Nigerians know exactly what the ADC is doing. They know that this problem was created by the ADC. They are the authors and will be the finishers of their predicament. Shehu.
On a final note, and quickly, Mr. Morka, the permutations as to the effect that your party, the APC, is largely very unpopular. And for some reasons, you're making a frantic effort in wanting to show that you are in the game. And as if you've heard from opposition voices recently, that if there were elections today, your party will perform dismally poor. And there are those who think that you are not in this election. It's going to be an election between Nigerians and your party, in the sense that you are largely not popular and you might lose this election. And that's the reason why your party does not really want any major opposition in the election. How do you defend these comment by opposition voices who think your party has lost it?
They are hallucinating, Shehu. They're just hallucinations. They need to wake up from their nightmare. Because it's not even a dream. It's more, in the realm of a nightmare that they're having. Shehu, yesterday we had elections. As I said earlier, we won handsomely. We didn't face any competition from any of the opposition parties in the by-election. In the FCT election, that is the most recent election, we also won handsomely. We didn't face any significant opposition in that election. You see, how can you accuse the party that is winning, that has a track record of winning, that won the 2023 election and has won every election, literally won, fantastically in every election since then? And by the way, the voters in these elections, in the by-election and in the FCT election and in the state constituency elections we've had so far, are Nigerians. They're the same Nigerians who voted for the APC to win. And those who didn't even win anything are accusing those who won of, fear of, the upcoming election. You see, that is a joke. That's just irresponsible talk. So we don't pay any attention to that. We will continue to prepare, mind our business, prepare for the next general election 2027, and hope to win.
Mr. Felix Morka is a lawyer and the spokesperson of the All Progressives Congress. Many thanks, Mr. Morka. I appreciate your time tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sheung, for having me.
I appreciate it. Up next, we dig deeper inside INEC's decision on ADC leadership, what the law says about party recognition. Can party crisis derail 2027 elections? We're speaking with Mr. Oluwole Osazi Uzi, a former INEC Director of Legal, Voter Education and Publicity, and a lawyer. We'll be right back after this break, everyone. Everyone for staying with us. So, Nigeria's electoral umpire is once again at the center of a very big controversy. The Independent National Electoral Commission's position on the leadership crisis within the African Democratic Congress has now sparked fresh legal and political debate, raising questions about party autonomy, regulatory boundaries, and the implications for the 2027 general elections. At the heart of the dispute, INEC's reported withdrawal of recognition for key figures within the ADC leadership structure, including former Senate President David Mark and ex-Governor Rauf Aregbesola, triggering fears over internal legitimacy, compliance with the Electoral Act, and even the party's eligibility to appear on the ballot in 2027. So, where does the law stand? How far can INEC go in determining who leads a political party, and could internal party dispute reshape the electoral landscape ahead of the next general elections? To unpack the legal and institutional implication, I'm now being joined by Mr. Oluwole Osazi Uzi, a former INEC Director of Legal, equally a former Director of Voter Education and Publicity, who has decades of experience and as a lawyer and electoral principles will help guide our conversation tonight. Mr. Osazi Uzi, thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Give us an understanding. INEC procedurally has come out to say this is, and I know that a lot of the times over the years in the way politicians behave, they going from one court to the other, extracting court cases, and you find one court case in order in Zamfara, another one in Gombe, forum shopping legally called, and yes, they will present it for INEC, and you'll be torn between several options in the middle of the controversy. But you've got, as a regulator, INEC had to make a decision. But this decision that INEC made in the case of ADC, yes, and the now INEC chairman referring to what he called the status quo antebellum. Yes. Legally speaking, I'll need your explanation as a senior lawyer on what that meant. What is status quo antebellum? And in fact, procedurally, the decision of INEC to remove David Mark and Adegbesola's name as a leadership of the party, where does this leave the party?
In dire straits. In 2 words, dire straits. Because if INEC withdraws its recognition, it means, in effect, that it will not accept any list of candidates from the political parties. The political party will not be invited to any meeting. It will not, in fact, basically dead for this period that it's not there. Because INEC only takes, by its own regulations, only takes correspondence, only listens and invites the national chairman and national secretary. And when it comes to submitting list of candidates, it gives you a code. Without that code, you cannot access the INEC portal to submit the list of your candidates. So if it does not recognize any chairman or secretary of that, national chairman, national secretary of that party, that means that party cannot submit its code. If the party does not, if the national chairman, national party doesn't sign a notice that they want to conduct a congress and a convention, it means INEC will not monitor. And if INEC does not monitor that congress, give notice to the commission, it means it will not, any list of candidates emerging from such exercise will not be recognized.
Sorry, before you go on that note.
Yes.
ADC says we don't care whether you are monitored or not, referring to INEC now.
Yes.
That they will go ahead as planned to conduct their, under the David Mark and Arabishala's leadership.
Yes.
We will go ahead and plan and conduct our convention.
Yes.
As far as the constitution is concerned, monitoring and observing party activities is a duty. But is the party bound legally? What is the legal implication of monitoring of election? Does it make it legally invalid or valid, as the case may be?
Good question. We have to put things in context.
Yeah.
Now, if a party does not give INEC notice of its congress or convention, it's electoral, not the constitution. The constitution gives power to INEC to monitor the activities of political parties, including their finances.
Yeah.
Then the electoral goes further to say, look, if you are going to select candidates or select an executive, we have to be there. Now, that of ADC, as far as I'm aware, is interesting because as at the time that the David Mark executive or working committee was constituted, INEC monitored that. INEC, they've also given INEC notice, and INEC recognized that and put it on the website. So INEC recognizes the David Mark and Arabishala's committee up till very recently, recognized that and accepted a notice. They gave them notice of its desire to conduct congresses and conventions. So it has given that notice. Now, if you have given that notice to INEC, at least 21 days notice, whether INEC comes or it does not come, that does not validate or invalidate the process.
So they are good to go with the convention.
As it were,
in the eye of the law, the eye of the law, whatever happens at that convention, as far as it's immaterial whether INEC is there or not, is after the fact, as far as the law is fait accompli, as long as the monitoring, as far as the notice is concerned, which is the mandatory procedural requirement by law. So whatever happens, whoever emerges at that convention, which is going to be an electric convention, is legally binding.
It's legally binding.
Even if INEC is not present.
As long as they've given INEC the notice of election. There are several congresses and conventions, INEC has not been present for one reason or another. But once it has given notice of that, once the party has given notice of that, then its mere presence or absence does not validate or invalidate.
But the PDP convention in Ibadan, INEC was not there. And it became invalidated by the court.
Yes, that was because you have to look at things contextually and why the courts give the judgment that they give. Because I think, if I recall correctly, it is a question of you went ahead against a valid court order. Specific order for you not
conflicting
to hold,
order.
Not to hold
there was an Ibadan court which says go ahead.
Correct.
There's an Abuja court which says don't go.
And no party, no person, no litigant should be faced with conflicting court orders of coordinate jurisdiction or equal courts, the courts of equal jurisdiction.
So now, ADC, legally speaking, procedurally, they are in good standing, at least as far as the law is concerned, in terms of the notice of their convention. However, the removal of the name of Arabishala and David Mark by INEC, legally speaking, did INEC do the right thing in that context?
I listened to the INEC chairman explain why the commission did what it did. I also read the 5-page statement. It's a long statement. It's unprecedented, and they took their time.
Looked more like a legal explanation.
It was an explanation. So what the statement was gave the basis for the decision which they read. I may not agree with that decision, and many lawyers, I'm afraid, will not agree with that decision. It's a question of interpretation of what the status quo ante bellum was. And a lot of people asked at the time that the case went to court, what was the status quo antebellum? And you did ask me your first question, what did you mean by that? It means before the hostilities started, before the disputes, as it were, started. And one thing, the law recognizes once you have a political party, it must have a chairman, national chairman, it must have a national secretary. Be it in an acting, a provisional, but there must be one.
Yeah.
You cannot have, it's like having a human being without a head. Yeah. It's not possible. So you must have. So what INEC has done basically is I said, this party does not have a chairman. Let's
mathematically look at the law.
Yes.
What is the rest in this case?
Good question.
So, because it will help us to now find X. Because we're looking for status quo antebellum. Because what Nafi Bala is saying is that, as at the time Uwosu stepped down, I am the I'm the man that should naturally step. So there are a lot of people who say that is the antebellum there. That is the point where that is the conflict.
Did he step into those shoes? Was there any party meeting? Was there anything where he stepped into those shoes? Or is it an automatic thing? People will say antebellum, then maybe go back to Ralph Wonsu's as still being thing. That's what happened before the...
It's simply what is status quo antebellum. For those who don't understand the Latin word.
Yes, it means, I think most people understand the status quo, how things are. And so antebellum, how things were before the commencement of the hostilities. So how were things? When was the hostility? Was the hostilities 2nd of September when Bala went to court? Was it as at when Wonsu resigned or Wonsu was there? Or was it a question of don't forget, INEC recognized these people. A classic case was that of Ojukwu against the governor of Lagos State, and you read law, so that's a classic case. Now, at the time, the Supreme Court held that Ojukwu was forcefully removed from the house. They said, no, return him to the house, pending when we take his application. Remember, what the Rizka Villa, he was sitting in front of the house. Say, no, that is wrong. While the case was in court, you don't usurp the powers of the court or render nugatory what the likely outcome is likely to be. So what was it? There's Vaswani and Sawalak, old 1972, more than 50 years ago. And they said, look, a man lost the case and said, look, I have a motion for stay of execution of the state. So don't do anything. Don't remove this man pending when the court can actually hear the case. So that's the same kind of thing. What, before the dispute arose, was Bala at any time chairman of the party? So apparently, INEC says no. So, but was David Mark and Areboshla chairman and secretary national chairman and secretary respectively, it will appear INEC recognized that as at that time. And this happened even before the case was instituted in court. This was as far back as July. So, it depends on what you want to interpret the status quo antebellum. Was it when Rafosu stepped down? Was it when monitored that convention? There was no case in court that time, don't forget. There was no case in court as at the time they gave recognition to...
as a very senior lawyer, of course, you remember the case of Laduni versus Kukoyi on protecting the rest.
Yes.
Because when status quo antebellum is involved, you are telling the court, please help me, protect me.
Yes.
And the court is saying, no, you go back to before the hostilities began, because that is the context here that INEC was explaining in those 5 cases. And anybody who remembers the Laduni versus Kukoyi matter is also talking about what's the subject matter, the rest, protecting it. But give me a moment, Mr. Osasiwusi, because we're going to break, and when we come back, this interpretation, they say we will not recognize anyone. Now, ADC is a persona non grata. As far as it is now, it's in the balance. His leader is rudderless as far as the regulator is concerned.
He's dead for now.
But the problem is that the rest is also in danger because by the time the court comes back, it will be too late. Fait accompli. But we'll be back after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. So, for those who are lawyers or those who have the Laduni and Kukoyi case of 1972 that I made reference to is going to resonate to anyone who remembers the conversation around status quo antebellum, because the conversation is how to protect the rest. protect the subject matter. Now, the rest here, Mr. Osasihuzi, will be not messing up with the leadership of the party, which is in context. Here. Now, the question is, by the time what INEC is running away from is they don't want to be found guilty of taking sides. And that's why the chairman said, let's leave things open. But then, what is the danger in leaving things open? Because primaries are supposed to start in April and end in May, I guess.
That's correct. Now, the Court of Appeal gave that order. The Court of Appeal did not say, don't recognize either faction. It never said to say preserve the rest. What is the rest? The political party and its ability to function as a unit, as a registered political party in the country. That is the rest of this thing. If you don't have a national leadership, that means the party cannot function. You are actually destroying the rest if you do not recognize either person. It means the party cannot give you notice of convention. It means the party cannot give you notice, cannot sponsor any candidates. That is the effect of the decision now of the commission.
Yeah.
Because if you don't recognize any national chairman, if you don't recognize any national secretary, how does the party function? Your rules say, your regulations say, you need the national chairman and secretary to endorse notice of convention, notice of candidates, and every other notice that has to be done, every communication between you. And now you have cut off the line of communication between the party, which is still in existence, has not been registered. You cut off the line of communication between you and the party. You do not recognize the party, in other words.
Especially now the party has become a mainstream opposition party now.
Well, it's a mainstream party, but it should not happen to any party at all. But more so because of its importance and because of the people who are now members of the party. People recognize it. The presidential system, so quite honestly, you don't recognize government party and opposition party. But yes, in the colloquial terms, it is now the main opposition party. And you say the main we're almost back to those African countries where the main party is the only recognized person, and you have tiny little things that go around there in the pretext that you have multi-party democracy.
So what this means is that fundamentally and realistically, technically speaking, anyone who is running on the platform of the ADC is in danger of being on the ballot. That's technically
or being excluded from the ballot because first of all, the Constitution says you must belong to a party and sponsored by that party. In the extrapolation, in the interpretation of those things, for you to show that you belong to a party, the national chairman and secretary have to introduce you to the commission, to INEC, to say this. INEC says, no, we're not going to accept any communication from this person or that person, from anybody. Because INEC has not now recognized anybody. So it's a danger of the party not functioning as a political party, not being able, and the main objective of the political party is to sponsor candidates at elections.
In the eye of the law, based on the pronouncement of INEC, ADC does not exist. Technically,
the effect of it all, that's what it means. Because you will invite them for meetings with political parties. You will not accept lists of candidates from them. You will not accept any communication from them. You will not have any dealings
with them.
You will not relate to them, have any dealings with them. That is not the intention of the Court of Appeal decision. Preservation of the rest is to preserve that political party as is.
For someone who has worked in INEC and without miscalculating, over 35 or so years in the bar.
Yes, 42 years.
42 years. If you were in the shoes of the present INEC leadership, what would you do?
Now, there are antecedents. Don't forget, our memory tends to be very short. A similar crisis arose in AD, Alliance for Democracy, at that time, after the ACN was formed.
Yeah.
A few people remained behind in the AD, and were causing a lot of confusion. What did INEC do? INEC invited them and tried to intercede, and partly because of that, INEC set up a committee for disputes, so that there can be alternatives to litigation. And I think they were able to settle, by and large, that AD crisis as at that time. We can take a leaf from that. Intervening in terms of trying to resolve issues. I think there's an attempt to the PDP in this present commission trying to resolve issues of the PDP. But I'm not aware that they tried to do so in this. Apparently, they've been simmering maybe July, August, up to September before it went to court. I don't know what the commission did, whether it's intervened, I don't know. But that is one of the things to be done. But you must recognize one person. As a regulator, you have to ensure that the people you regulate are alive and kicking. But you are a regulator for democratic institutions. You must ensure that multi-party democracy is sustained. And in order to do that, strong, virile political parties are an essential, integral part of democracy.
So you think INEC erred in this? This is an error of judgment, do you think?
I will take a different view than what the commission did, yes. Yes.
This was not the best. They could have done better.
In my own opinion, this was not the best way to go about it, because you have, with the best of intentions probably, or you have now had a situation where you have almost destroyed that party as a political party. It no longer has all the attributes of a political party.
So let's close now. Just in 10 seconds, if you are to give, and if they need to pay for the legal advice, if you are to give a legal opinion and an expert opinion to ADC, if you're any member of ADC, what should they be doing now? Just in 10 seconds.
Well, I think they should try and resolve this issue. There are two ways. Either go for accelerated hearing of that case and ensure it's dealt with speedily, or get some kind of clarification or compel INEC to do what it has to do to preserve the rest of the party.
Mr. Oluwole Osazusi, many thanks. Always a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure to always be here, and I must assure you that we do support you, and all the attempts to muscle the press and the threats to you. We sympathize, do well with you, and we back you, and well with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed. Appreciate it. On a programming note, everyone would like to inform our viewers that a special program titled The Savior, a story about the birth, ministry, and crucifixion of our Lord Jesus Christ, will be broadcast on all our platforms immediately after the news at 10 tonight. Please join us at 11 p.m. for the 2-hour special program. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Shunwa Kimale. God bless Nigeria.